Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Bridging Impact Podcast, the Coach's Corner, where I, Coach Furtado, share every single Friday what I am learning from the coaches that I'm talking to, the athletes I'm working at, and the other resources and life experience I'm accumulating that week for coaches, parents, athletes, and people that want to learn through the power of sports and stories about leadership, life lessons, and wisdom, passing that along. So, without further ado, today's topic is on leading yourself first. So, how often as servant leaders and as givers and as people who really care about people do we find ourselves, kind of burning ourselves out, giving all of our energy that we have and not really either leaving energy for ourselves or for the people for our friends, for our family, for our partners, because we spent it so much on either the kids or our team or whoever it is. We often, spend all that energy. And there's going to be time in life where you're just going to have to keep giving, and you're not going to have an opportunity to, reset, recharge. And I'm not talking about those opportunities. I'm talking about the week in, week out, leading yourself first. And I want to share a little bit of a story that I had an opportunity to hear about in this week's episode with Coach B, Andy Baranilla. And he was sharing that, so he's a basketball guy like myself. He played varsity. He played in college, community college, club team. And so, basketball is his life. And when he had the opportunity, obviously, to become a physics teacher, he took that opportunity, to be an assistant varsity basketball coach. And it was really, really exciting for him that he started saying yes to everything. He was, cutting up film on Sunday. He was going to every single optional event, all the optional workouts, spending a lot of time with kids because, he kind of talked about how he was like a player development coach. And so what that means essentially is that a lot of those players need one-on-one attention, and one-on-one attention, if you're giving that to 12 players, an hour a week, that's 12 hours, right? And he may not have been doing it that much, but at the same time, if you are always giving and giving and giving, you'll end up kind of having a similar story to him where, he loved basketball so much that he was thinking actually about quitting, about not, doing and coaching basketball anymore, not wanting to play anymore, because that was his entire life. It had consumed everything. And part of it he did, talk about was the pandemic. He wasn't able to hang out with his friends as much, but he had started saying no to his friends more because of the game of basketball. And so, eventually he started saying no. And I want to talk about the takeaways that we can learn from Coach B, his experience, and honestly that we can apply to our own lives. And that number one is saying no. And, Nilla, Coach B, he talked about how it was very challenging the first time to say no. Like he said, he felt guilty. It was a team event, an optional team event. And, he's like, oh, I should be there, right? And like we have that guilt, as givers and as people that always, there's the people pleaser in us, but it's because we care so much. We feel like we're not being there for them, but we can't, if we're always there for other people and we're not there for ourselves, and we're not there for our partners and the people that are close to us, like that's doing a disservice not only to ourselves, but to our partners and to our, our friends and our family as well, because they deserve our attention and love just as much as our teams do and our companies do, or whoever you give so much of that love to. So with that being said, number one is saying no. Just developing that ability to say no, because if you say yes to everything, that is saying no to something else. So if you say yes to cutting up film on Sunday, that means you don't have as much time on Sunday to recharge yourself, whether it's watching some football, doing some chores, or, hanging out with your partner or your family. That's what you're saying no to if you say yes to editing film. And you can't say yes to everything. And that's been a big thing that I've had to learn the hard way as well, is like I have to understand, what I can budget my time to. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in a few minutes. Number two is determining what you need. So that I have kind of like 5 little points I want to make out of determining what you need. Number one is optimal physical activity and nutrition. So you have to, like for me, I really discovered that I'm a big believer in physical fitness. I'm obviously, I love sports, and I know that when I am going to the gym, I'm playing basketball, I feel the best. Like there's no if, ands, or buts about it. There's no secrets. Everyone knows that, physical activity is incredibly important. But I do think that sometimes people think that they have to go to the weight room, they have to run, they have to do some of these different things. And I believe there's actually a lot of fun activities out there that are physically active. You can play softball, you can play soccer, you can dance, you can do a lot of different things, you can hike, right? Like physical activity looks different for different people, and it kind of depends what you want, what's your lifestyle, and I can't choose that for you, but I do know that physical activity has a big impact on your mental activity, which I will get into next, which is my second point, which is like mental health, right? Are you an extrovert or an introvert? I'm guessing you're a little bit of both. I feel like most of us are actually ambiverts, but obviously society wants to bucket us into one or the other, right? And I need social connection. I need it. That's something that sometimes when I am at home and I'm really tired, it's because I've been on my computer all day. I haven't had that social interaction. But I also know that when I have a lot of social interaction, like this last Labor Day weekend, I was drained. I needed some me time, and I needed to, kind of just chill out, watch some sports, go on a walk by myself, right? I needed that me time. So it's a little bit of both. And mental health is like going on walks. Is it, probably watching a mindless show? Is it doing an activity that, it's mindless, right? It's, are you crafting, are you wood chopping, are you working on cars? It could be anything that kind of just, takes your mind out of the flow state. For me, like also basketball is mental health as well, because I forget about things, and that's why physical activity can really blend into mental activity. So number 3 is actually social. So mental health and social alone time. I was supposed to do as 2 different points, but I kind of blended that into the same point because I feel like they are very important. Like I feel like it's important to get that social connection and also that you time, and that can come in that like. Again, they all are interweave and tie into themselves. The next point I want to make is spiritual health. And I know this is probably an interesting one because, I don't find myself to be a religious person, but I know for a fact I'm a spiritual person. And connecting to a higher power than myself has really helped me be on a mission and really helped me serve, athletes and kids, but also be grounded and be more present, with my friends, my family, my girlfriend. And so just like recognizing that it's all bigger than you, and finding your own spirituality, whatever that looks like for you, is actually really helpful. And there are studies that show that people that are spiritual and feel connected to a greater power actually do have greater signs of obviously just feeling better than themselves, feeling, less depression, less stress, less anxiety, because, when we can get into our own head and not trust, obviously the universe, and I'm starting to get a little bit woo-woo here. But when we don't trust, the process, our brain kind of tells us certain things, oh, you look like this, oh, you look like that, right? It's just, we can get out of that. We can find ourselves getting out of that if we can trust that there's something bigger than ourselves. And then the last point I have about all of, determining what you need is make sure you schedule that into your week, right? Into your month, into your, whatever you need, right? I can't tell you the amount of time you're going to need to recharge alone. I can't tell you the amount of times you need to work out. I can give you all this data that's from, all the guidelines, like, work out 3 times a week, but you're going to have to figure out what works best for you. You're going to have to experiment, maybe you work out 6 times in a week. You're like, oh, that's too much. That's a little too much. So, it's going to be an opportunity, but I'm a planner. So I plan it into my week, right? I plan in my breaks because I'm actually learning that breaks are incredibly important. So I plan when I'm going to the gym. I plan when I'm going on my walks, and there's time on my schedule that's not planned. That's, not every hour of the day is planned, but, I'm making sure that I schedule out date nights, on certain nights, with my girlfriend, because things can get really busy. And if you don't put anything on the schedule, it's easy to just go by. So make sure you schedule that out, whether you're a planner or you're just someone that's kind of like a type B person. Just make sure you spend time doing that. And the last one that I have is just take responsibility. I mean, at the end of the day, no one else is going to say no for you. No one else is going to, bring the energy that you do. you have to understand that every decision you make is your own decision. And I know that there are external circumstances that I don't know about and probably many other people don't know about, but you have to understand that when you're a coach, when you're a parent, when you're a teacher, when you're a leader, people are counting on you. And people are counting on you to be fully recharged. And, there are going to be, again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, there are going to be those weeks, there's going to be those days, those months, those years that, your energy is probably a little bit lower because people need more demands. And to be honest, you're probably in a situation where, you may not be able to give yourself as much as you can, but even if it's 5-10 minutes, because I know, like, for me, it's changed a lot. Like, I used to have full, like, Sunday me days, and now I just go on, like, a walk for an hour, and then, it's changed. It's not the same, and you have to adapt, and maybe when I have more responsibilities, if I ever have a kid one day in like 10-20 years, right? Like, my me time might be like literally driving to go pick up my kid from school, whatever it is. Like, you have to kind of work it into your schedule and just be flexible, I'd say, be graceful with yourself, because it's not always going to look perfect. So I appreciate y'all for giving this episode a listen. Make sure you share it with a friend if you found it valuable and you think it would be valuable for them. We need more leaders that give to themselves so they can give to others and make an impact. Because at the end of the day, Coach B is still making such an enormous impact, even though he's not going to every single event. And I know I have to do the same thing for me, coaching at Venice High School, for starting a business, and also, already having a full-time job. So let's be mindful about that, and let's have a great week. And remember that this is all about passing wisdom, passing the ball to the next generation of kids so they can, create a better future than we have as young adults, as adults. So like, comment, subscribe wherever you are. Hit that subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you left us a review, that would be huge. I'd really appreciate that. And I will be back in your eyes and ears next Friday. And we got a wonderful, wonderful podcast with Marin coming out next Wednesday for Bridging Impact. All right, y'all. Cheers. Coach Furtado out.